Hi, this is Laura Smith in the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at the University of South Carolina. If you're watching this video, it's because you are getting ready to launch into learning Adobe Premiere. You may have used it before in another setting, but the suggestions that I have for you about how to manage your media, how to keep your media together, and some suggestions for standard operating procedures for the edit process, they do vary from place to place. So this is my method. There are lots of ways that you could do this, but if you do follow my method, you will have an easier time keeping track of your original or raw materials and keeping all of your field work together with your Adobe project so that they stay connected and you never lose track of the pieces and parts of your project. It can be, if you're shooting on your phone, you may have 50, 60, 70 clips that you're going to be working with, and you're going to import those clips into your computer to work with. So if you're going to do that, I recommend when you have your phone and you either AirDrop or email or send yourself files, go ahead and create a raw materials folder file where you can just put all of that content together in one place before you launch into an Adobe Premiere project. And then we can just import from that raw materials folder. If you are taking a class in the J School that uses our larger cameras that have an SD card with them, like our big Panasonic cameras in the journalism program, or DSLRs will often have an SD card like this. You will have to transfer that material also into your Adobe Premiere project. And that means two things. First of all, it means that you're going to need a card reader to transfer the material from your SD card reader that you'll take out of the camera and put into your computer and copy those files over. And to do that, you're going to need to have some sort of card reader. I have one that has multiple slots in it. So this one has an SD card reader. It has a USB 2.0, sort of the older USBs, and a mini card reader. And then it also has a more modern USB-C connection that then I can just plug directly into the side of my laptop. So if you've done shooting in the field and you're going to bring material in, you can just put that material in the SD card reader into the slot of that and plug it into the side of your computer. And that will enable you to import your material from an SD card that you've used in a higher end camera. The last thing that you might want to consider buying for yourself, if you're going to be doing a lot of Adobe Premiere editing, is you may want to go ahead and get yourself some sort of portable Bluetooth mouse or one of those smaller ones that you can plug into the side of your computer. Because once we get to more granular, closer editing, it can be really difficult to work with a trackpad. Now, some of you are really great with a trackpad on your laptop. But trust me when I tell you, if you're playing with little keyframes and you're trying to make little minor adjustments, it can be difficult to get close enough into your video or your audio to make some really precision edits. So today, as I'm walking you through the process of Adobe Premiere and getting things going, I recommend that you work with a mouse, and I will be working with a mouse as well. So there are a lot of stages in putting Adobe project together. If you would follow along this tutorial with my handout, this front page that has the 5 must-do steps to keep your project together, what I call project management, are really important. And you want to keep in mind that these 5 steps will keep you from losing track of your media in the future. I can't stress that enough. For all of my projects, I set these projects up exactly the same way. And if you ever want to share your media or share your projects, in the Adobe format with someone else while you're co-editing, you really need to do it this way. Also, these SD files that come out of our very large, our bigger cameras are very large. They're high def files. And if you're shooting, for example, on one of our Panasonics, these high def files could easily be 16 to 20 gigs for a project that you only expect to edit. That's a video project maybe is a minute and a half long. You could end up with a lot of large files. So trying to keep everything together helps to share them through external hard drives and other processes that you might want to use in the future to take your work off of your computer once you're done editing it. So that said, we're going to go step by step in this first portion of the tutorial through how to set the project up. Before we begin, I would always recommend when you start an Adobe Premiere project that you restart your laptop or computer. There's some digital data that sometimes gums up the works in the background from something you might have worked on in the past. So a restart of your computer can always help you eliminate any potential problems that might pop up. This is especially true if you have an older computer. So one last thing, Adobe Premiere gets new versions all the time. So you may be watching this video and the interface that I show you is slightly different than what you see on your version, but you should be able to find everything that I'm talking about in about the same way as we go forward. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that you can go step by step with me through my handout. And we will just move this down to the bottom of the screen. So let me move this out. Okay, so if you are working on your laptop, which chances are you're going to be working on your laptop, what I like to do now in Mac, I'm a Mac person. I didn't used to be, but I am now. I like to work directly on the desktop so that I can see exactly where my project is going to go. So if you're in a Mac environment, you can right-click with your mouse or double tap with your fingers on your trackpad to create a new folder. And that will automatically show up on your desktop, and you can label it whatever your project is called. So let's say this is going to be Juneteenth at the Nick. So that's the raw material I'm going to be using for this project. So that's my name of my overall project. I'm then going to, you should see on my screen, when I plugged my SD card in, this little icon showed up. All right, so in that icon, if I open it up and you've shot on one of our large Panasonic cameras, you will see two files, a DCIM file and a private file. If you are going to be working out of this type of media from the field, you'll drag the entire DCIM folder over into your project until and copy and paste it from the SD card directly into your project folder. Now, this is a larger file. I've already copied it. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that raw footage right in here. So if I dragged the DCIM folder over, I would want to relabel that file like raw footage. So I know that that is my raw field footage. Perhaps it's just part of what you shot. Maybe this is your raw video and interview, right? And so I know for sure that I have some interviews in here that I shot, and I'm going to put that there. Now, if you shot on your phone, you might want to create a folder that says raw field video, and or maybe separately you do another one that has raw reporter tracks in it if you're doing a package. So just kind of keep all your raw materials together in the type of file that you shot them in. So if you got voice tracks that you recorded with your phone while talking into your phone, put those there. For example, these ones, and I've labeled them here. If you shot a video on your phone, you can email it to yourself, airdrop it to yourself, and compile that in a raw field video folder for your phone. Raw field video for from your phone. And then this is the raw video and interview from the SD card. Sometimes we compile materials from multiple sources, but it's just a good idea that you can see what those are so that you don't have 50, 60, 70 files and clips in your master project. Everything is kind of all coordinated and organized to make your job easier. Okay, so we're moving on to step 3. If you have imported material from your SD card, you will want to eject it at this moment. You never want to use or work from your raw materials on an SD card, or you don't want to work with material that's in 4 different folders separated on your desktop. You want to make sure it's all together. So I'm going to eject the flash, so we're never ever working directly from the flash in Adobe Premiere. All right, so that brings us to Adobe Premiere. We've set up our project. We have our raw material imported. And then if you're in the Adobe scenario, you should see a PR, a purple PR down in the bottom of your dock. And you can just click on that to open Adobe Premiere. If for any reason you can't find it, you should be able to go to your hard drive location, look in Applications, and search for whatever version of Adobe Premiere that you have. So here would be Adobe Premiere. You can open that, and then you can drag that to your dock if it's not already in the dock. All right, so I am in the process of opening Adobe Premiere. If you happen to be using our lab computers here in the J School, please be aware you will need to sign in using your login. You'll see that in the top right-hand corner. Now, you're not really creating the project in your project on Adobe Premiere. There's no cloud here. It's just that you're logging in to say, hey, this is my account on Adobe Premiere, and you can log in with your personal password. If you happen to be in the J School and somebody else is logged in there, you really can go ahead and use their Premiere login. It doesn't make a difference as long as you are creating that content and funneling it directly into your individual project folder. So we're now, step 4, we have logged into Premiere, and we're going to create a new project. So we're going to click on New Project, and this sub window is going to pop up. And here you're going to label your project name. And I tend to say, let's label that project the same name as whatever your project file is over here on the desktop. So again, I'll make this Juneteenth at the Nick. Okay, but don't hit return yet. You need to tell Adobe Premiere where you want this project to live. So under this location button, click the arrow down, choose location, and a subscreen will pop up, and it's going to say, where do you want to put this project? Well, I want to put this project on my desktop in my Juneteenth folder. Now, you don't want to put it into your raw materials. You just click it in Juneteenth and hit select. And then step 5 is create. Now, this is going to open up this window. I don't really need to work from this window. You can go right to this edit tab here. And if you are on the same visualization of your screen as I am, which is called edit mode, you will see this 4x4 layout. We have a window down here. When I click in it, it gets highlighted. We have a window in here. It gets highlighted. A window over here, highlighted. A window over here, highlighted. These 4 window scenario is called the editing window. So if you don't see your layout looking like this, you can click on the Windows tab of Premiere, go to Workspaces, and select Editing. And you should see something reasonably similar to that. If you would rather work in a workspace and see all the panels, you can do that. Or you can go to Workspaces Learning, and this can be really helpful because if you're in a learning window, a sub window over to the left will pop up and you can watch tutorials along the way. I have it set up though in the editing mode. So I'm here in Adobe Premiere and I am seeing my four window scenario, and I'm ready to begin work on a project. Now, before you begin working on any project or importing any raw material to work with in Adobe Premiere, I strongly encourage you to take this step. Go to the Premiere window or Premiere drop-down menu at the top. Go to Preferences. Go to Timeline. And in this window here, Stereo, Media, Mono, make sure that this stereo media under default audio tracks is set to mono. The reason you want to do that is if you happen to be shooting on our big cameras and you have multiple channels of audio, you want to make sure that whatever you recorded on channel 1 goes to channel 1. You want to make sure that whatever you recorded on channel 2 goes to channel 2. So we want each channel to stay as its own channel. So mono is the setting we want. And you want to do that before you ever import audio to your project. Otherwise, when you go to import content, it may merge your multiple audio channels and you won't be able to separate them out when you're editing. So that's just a step you want to take every time before you start a project. All right, so here we are and we are ready to go. As long as you have followed those 5 steps in Adobe Premiere for setting up a project, you will never lose track of your media again. So that's always a handy thing. So if you're heading into this handout, we are now basically on page 2 of the handout, and we are going to go over the basic features in Adobe Premiere. This bottom left window is called your project bin, okay? If I double click in this bin, I can either click on this first window, Import Media, or I can double click to import media, or I can do File, Import Media, or I can do Command I for import. Some people like to edit with their mouse. Some people like to edit with keyboard strokes. Some people like to edit with their trackpad. There are 50 ways to Sunday to do things in Adobe Premiere and different approaches that you can take all of the time. But as long as you know that every command in Adobe Premiere has, or most commands, have a short command that's a keyboard stroke, and that is your Apple Command I if you're working on an Apple, or the drop-down menu, which will allow you to do a variety of things in Adobe. So I'm just going to double click, and I want to import my material that I'm going to work on in this project. And now I have to tell Adobe, well, where do I want to import it from? I want to import it from the desktop. And I am working on my Juneteenth project. And I'm going to select everything that I could possibly want to bring in. I'm going to bring in my raw voice tracks as if I were doing a package of some sort. These were recorded with a phone. I will bring in my phone video. And I'll bring in my raw video all at the same time and import. So this window will pop up sometimes, well, a lot of the time. It'll tell you there may be some data on your SD card, if you're using an SD card, that doesn't fit with Adobe Premiere. If you get this window, don't worry about it. Just click on OK. All right. So here I am in the bottom left project bin, and I've imported my material. Now, if I want to, I'm going to go to some of my video that I happen to have at the moment. I'm going to double click on my video, and I'm going to go into a subdirectory there, and I am going to see thumbnails of everything that was shot in the field. Now, you will notice if you're working with SD card material, it will tell you what the clip number is underneath it. And you can kind of skim through it really fast just by hovering your mouse over it. So you can see, oh, was that the shot that I had that really good um, shot of the guy spraying with the spray can? Yeah, so I can see he's spraying with the spray can. I might decide that I want to go down there and relay. I can right click on it and I can rename that shot as spray can if I want, just to make it easier to find in the future. I might go over here and say, and rename this one just so that I can find my interview with my expert. And here I've got renaming my interview with the producer, this child producer on this project. So here we've got a couple of just sort of telltale signs on key shots that you might be interested in using. You don't really need to relabel anything in a project, but sometimes it helps to find things very quickly if you have an idea of a specific clip you want to do. So if I double click, for example, on that spray can, you'll see that that video, that clip opens up in my source window. Here's source window here. Okay. And so it's showing me the name of the file up here is my spray can shot. And if I'm in here, I can use this little blue scrubby to scrub through the shot quickly and go, oh, I see, I like it from the point where he's raising his arm up. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to hit play or space bar. Space bar will make it play, or you can hit play. That's the most important way that you get yourself through there, or you can cue it up and space bar. Okay, so that enables you to shuttle through your raw material, your source material, and then you can just kind of click through while you're looking at your material. That's all of the videos showing up for this debut event over at the Nickelodeon Theater on Main Street. So here's a guy, you know, with his camera. Now that's got a little bit of camera shake in it. So when I'm editing with it, I might want to be only using some part of that shot. So I'm going to want to make sure that that guy's head is out of the shot before I tell Premiere that I would like to use that shot. So that's how we scrub through it. If you have a long interview, you will see the time code of the interview will show up here. So if you're logging video, you can make note of particular quotes that you want to use that might be right there. All right. I'm going to pop back down here for a quick second. Another thing, if you decide that instead of looking at these as thumbnails, if you want to look at that material as a list, you can see each clip as a list. I can tell that this clip is video and sound because I have both a little purple icon and a little green icon. In Adobe Premiere, green only is audio only. Blue only is video only. And the two of them together tells you that there's video with sound of some sort on there. I will also show you, I can drag down here and you will see since I renamed those particular files, I now can see that this is going to be the interview with the expert, my interview with my producer, and here's my spray can shot that I labeled because I specifically was interested in that shot. So you can either look through things as a list, or you can go to the icon. You can also change the size of those icons by dragging this little bar down at the bottom. And you can also, at any time, you can change the size of this window or any window in Adobe Premiere by just, it's like an Excel spreadsheet by moving these around so that you can see more of what you're wanting to see on any given time. And if you ever lose track of yourself, you could just go to Windows, Workspaces, All Panels, or you can go to Windows, Workspaces, Editing, or Windows, Workspaces, Learning. These are all different ways that we can see the material that we're working with. Okay, so if you think about the material on the left-hand side as being your raw material, the material on the right-hand two windows are going to be your edit project, the digital representation of your edit project. You are never actually editing the raw material. Anything that you see in your project, let me back up and show you this again. Go to my project. Anything that you see in here is really a visual representation of the material in that source window. So I have that raw material here. I have that raw material here. I'm never really cutting the raw material. I'm only going to use a digital visual representation of that raw material when I'm working in Adobe Premiere. That's why it's really important that we keep all of our files together so that we don't lose track of where our material is. Okay, so bottom right window is called the timeline. This is where you're going to see your edited project as you're working on it. The top right window is going to be where you're actually watching that edit project. So for example, if I'm going to show you just real quick. Let's say right before his hand moves away to spray is where I want that shot to start. I can use my scrubby to get there. I hit I for import, and it sets an endpoint. I for endpoint. I'm gonna hit my space bar. Let's say I want that to be the end of the shot. I hit O for out, and I have highlighted the section of that shot that I want to use in my project. If I want to bring the video only without the sound, I can drag this down diagonally, holding on with my mouse and let go, and it's going to bring video only. Now, I would never want to play that video. Here, I'll play it in this side. I also have a scrubby to work through. I have lost all of the interesting sound that goes along with that video, so I don't want to do that. So I can either highlight on this and hit delete on my space bar and bring my scrubby back to the beginning, or I can right click on it and delete with my mouse. Let me edit, undo. This is a beautiful thing about nonlinearity. Click on it, right click, and I would have an opportunity with a drop down menu to delete that as well in that way. So hit stop. Okay. If I want to drag audio only, I can drag on this part. If I drag it and drop it, you'll see that two pieces of sound came down, right? Because this was shot on a large camera, I have two channels of audio I recorded in the field that are going to drop into my Premiere project. Okay, so that's audio only. So when I hit play, all I get is the audio without the video. Delete that again. If I want to drag the entire video and audio only, I click in the middle of the shot and drag it and drop it and let go on my timeline. So if that was the first shot I wanted to use in a project, there it is, okay? So when you're working with video with multiple audio channels, you'll notice the video, one channel of video, video 1 came down, one channel of audio came down on channel 1, and another channel of audio came down on channel 2. If I had not done the preferences timeline mono, it could be that the video that I imported shows up combining these two channels on a single channel of audio, and we never want that when we're doing precision editing. So if you are recording multiple channels, you want to make sure that you're bringing them all in together. All right, so when I dragged that file down, it it dropped right into my timeline. I can also drag to the right. I can drag in and insert that video before or between. I can insert something before a shot, after a shot. I can put it on top of a shot. We won't be discussing that right now. I can replace a shot, or I can write over a shot and overwrite, right? So I can use these over here, but when you're editing fast, it tends to be fastest just to drag it and drop it. Okay. So that is the timeline over here. And this is the visual representation of the project that I'm working on at this moment. So you will also see in Adobe Premiere that there's a toolbox here, and it has a bunch of different tools. So we have a pointer tool, which is the one you work with most of the time. That's the one that helps you point to your scrubby, move things around. You also have a slice tool. The slice tool enables you to cut your media at any given time. Your pointer tool or your pen tool enables you to make some finesse editing on your audio line. We'll get to that in a moment. And then there's a few other ones that involve typing, putting in text, putting in other special effects, putting shapes around things. Pretty much, mostly you'll be using the pointer tool, the slice tool, and the pen tool. Those are the most common that we use in fundamental video editing. So if at any time you don't see those tools, go to Windows and look to make sure that you have your audio meter set up, and make sure that you have your toolbar in place. So these are your VU meters. Those are the ones I just showed you, the drop-down menu for your audio. If you have 2 channels of audio, you'll see this split like that, so that we can see the different channels of audio that we have available to work with. So we see that. Now, before we move out of this basic setting up of a project and the fundamental tools that we're going to be working with, I want to go over one last set of tools here that are in your timeline. We have here up in the top left-hand corner, you can see that we have a counter for the project. If my scrubby is at the beginning of the counter, it's going to show 0. If I move it further into the project, you'll see, okay, now I'm 3 seconds and 2 frames into the shot. Typically, when we were shooting in high def in particular, there's 60 frames a second. Sometimes when you're shooting on a compressed video, it's going to be 30 frames a second. When it's audio only, it's typically 30 frames per second. But anyway, this enables you to see how long the project is at any given time, or how many seconds into that project that you are. Okay, this tool here is really important for us to keep track of. It's called snapping. So if I've laid this shot down and I want my next shot to come right after it, I'm going to go back to my raw video. I'm going to pick the next shot that I want, say the guy with the camera. We want to take that shot right after the guy gets out of frame. You see the purple guy there? We're going to make it. And now, if we want to get precise with our endpoint, we can use our arrows, arrow to the right or arrow to the left, to set an endpoint. So we want to let that guy go through, but we want to get it before our photographer picks his finger up. So, because we like to see action in a shot. So let's put, and that will be our I for in, space bar. Oh, we don't want that. Okay, I for in. Okay, and then we're going to back that up a little bit because we don't want him to go out of frame. Let's say we go to that. O for out, drag it, drop it. If it is in snapping mode, if it's in snapping mode, it will automatically connect to the previous piece of audio, video that you have in your timeline. It helps you work really fast. So now I've labeled my, or laid down my second shot. Okay, there we have 2 shots back to back. So snapping helps it, when it's highlighted, it's on. When you unhighlight it, it's off. Okay, so snapping, there you go. The next tool that's very important is called linking. Linking, when it's linked, if you have video that comes together with audio channel 1 and audio channel 2, when you drop that shot into Premiere, let's say we're dropping the whole shot in, it's going to bring in the video and audio together. Any changes I make to one piece of the material will have the same effect on everything else, right? So sometimes when we're just sort of throwing stuff together really quickly, see, snapping is on, so it's going to automatically go right up against the previous shot when I drop it in there. But if I highlight this clip, there's no way I can edit this audio separately from this audio. So if I click out of that for a moment and I unlink those sections, I could highlight this channel and delete it. I could highlight this channel and delete it. I could highlight this channel and delete it. And now I just have some video with natural sound. All right, so now I'm just sort of starting to put things together in my timeline. So if we can't see the end of a shot and we want to see a little more of our Premiere project that we're working on, this slider helps us to accomplish that goal. In Adobe Premiere, we can have multiple layers of video, for example. You can, like, let's say, for example, I'm going to use another tool here for a moment, locking. I'm going to lock down this video tool, and I'm going to bring another shot that's going to overlay on this middle part. I'm going to double click on another shot. And let's say I drag that down. It's going to cover everything up that I want. I don't want that. So I'm going to lock down my video and audio, or maybe I'll just bring in video alone. And that video will superimpose on that video. We typically edit with a single layer of video if you're running a video project. All right, so those are the fundamental tools. We have our project bin, we have our source window, we have our program window, and we have our timeline over here on the bottom right-hand side. So those are the fundamentals of that particular project setup and the first main tools that you're going to be using. And we will resume in just a moment with part 2 of our tutorial.